Welcome back to Radio Row, FOS. I'm Dan Roberts. We've got a huge presence this year talking to all your favorite players and personalities. And I've got Adam Breneman, the college football guru. What's up, Adam?
Appreciate having me on, man. Excited to talk.
I didn't even know how to describe you perfectly because
I like that. The
Penn
guru.
State player, interviewer extraordinaire, and now you're doing a show with us. Next up with Adam Breneman. So talk a little bit about the show and kind of transitioning into media as you've done.
I mean, the show's been awesome. For me, with all my background in football, as you just mentioned, being able to have some of these huge names in sports sit down and have conversations like fans aren't used to hearing has been really the mission when I went out to do this. And it's funny, man. I was just talking to someone about it. Anyone who ever says something to me in public, they always start with, "I love your podcast." That's always the first thing. And with all the different stuff I do, it's powerful because, number one, you're getting guys to sit down, like head coaches and athletic directors and commissioners and athletes, to have conversations and be candid in a way that they haven't before. We have a show dropping today where I interview Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham, who coach of the year in college football. And the things he says, he talks about when he almost considered quitting coaching in this interview, and the ups and downs of the season, and when he was tearing up when he got the job. Like, those are the stories I'm trying to bring out that normally in a normal setting those coaches would never talk about.
We do the same thing, interviewing people, trying to get them candid. Not always easy, usually not easy with coaches. I mean, I grew up a Patriots fan. I constantly go back to thinking of Bill Belichick. He wouldn't give you anything. He would do a post-game presser, monotone, one-word answers. How do you get these guys to talk more? And do you think maybe part of it is we're in a new era completely? Maybe you can point to NIL, maybe you can point to realignment, but there's so much change happening. Maybe coaches are just willing to be more candid than they ever were before.
I think a couple of things. By this point now with my show, a lot of people know what they're getting into when they say yes to doing it. They've seen me be candid with other coaches or other personalities. So when a coach says yes, they know it's not just some BS 15-minute interview. So that helps a lot. But there's little things that I try to do going into it. Even as little as like the chair setup we sit in. I always tell when we set it up, I want to be in like lounge chairs, like couches. Yeah, honestly, like not this type of setting, because I want the coach to lean back, cross their legs, relax. And then even when we start, I never really do a formal intro with the coach. I'll just tell my camera guy, start rolling the cameras,
let's just go.
And let's just talk instead of being like, "Hey, welcome into the show," because I want them to feel like almost forget the camera's there. As you know, it's tough, and a lot of times they know the camera's there. But even the little things, I think, helps it feel like a different type of interview, so you get more out of it.
Got to ask you a Penn State question. Saquon Barkley. I mean, bringing more attention to the running back position, the success he's having right now, also the bounce back from the Giants and the injuries there. How exciting is that to watch what Saquon is doing?
It's been awesome. I mean, I played with Saquon at Penn State. Everyone talks about how great of a person and leader he is. It's true. I mean, he is as good of a human being as he is a player, and he's a pretty darn good player. Man, it's so cool. I like people who have been through some stuff in their career, and it hasn't always been pretty for Saquon. Right? It's been ups and downs. The Giants decide to franchise tag him, then they decide not to re-sign him. Go hit the market, see what you're worth. Well, he's worth a damn lot, right? And it's been so cool to see Saquon have that success, and then to do it in Philadelphia, where he's from, with all the Penn State craziness. I mean, I know the Penn State fan base really well, and the excitement they have for Saquon right now, it's been really cool to see, and to see his family along with him during the ride. I think it's time for him now to go win a Super Bowl.
I mentioned the NIL explosion, and to me, that's just the biggest story in all of college sports. We love covering this at FOS. Every twist and turn, coaches stepping down, and they sort of vaguely blame the new era. But the dollar amounts that we're seeing reported for what guys are getting to go into the transfer portal, the $4 million to play just one more season, is there a ceiling on this? And obviously, there's some negatives to this. I mean, get what you're worth, but there's some negatives here.
To start, NIL is a great thing for college football, for its college sports. Listen, this has been a business for the coaches, the administrators, the media companies, the boosters for a long time. It's a business for the players too. With that said, the NCAA failed with what NIL looked like and when it came to fruition with really no regulation. They lost in court, and this wild, wild west came with the NIL combined with the transfer portal. And what's happened different than the NFL? In the NFL, you have a salary cap. The players sign contracts. They can't leave. Saquon Barkley can't go leave next year and go take more money because he has a contract with Eagles for 3 years. They don't have that in college football right now. And you have collectives promising money to players that they can't pay. Without the money in the bank, they're promising this money. So the good news is come July 1, the House settlement should kick in, which maybe, we'll see. And at that point, schools will pay their players with revenue sharing, $20.5 million a year, and a cap, which means the players will sign contracts with the schools, meaning they have to fulfill, they have to play in bowl games. They can't sit out games and still get paid like they've been able to. But what that means is when every school pays their players $20.5 million, everyone's back at zero. No one has a competitive advantage, which means the money that from the NIL collectors will still come into play. Because when Ohio State and Penn State pay their players $20.5 million, they're going to try to figure out how do we get an extra $5 million to pay them extra.
Right.
And that's where the NIL piece comes in. So there's still a long way to go. The sport of college football, college basketball, men's and women's basketball, never been better. I mean, the viewership's all-time high. College football has taken off. But there's a lot of issues. But I do think it's resulted in a better product on the field, just a little bit more chaos for the coaches, for the administrators, and for all the NIL collectors that are part of it.
We did NIL. The other major sea change is realignment.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with conferences? Is it just going to basically be the Power Three, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, a Mountain West, and if you're a school looking to shift, what's the landscape going to look like?
Listen, conference realignment's far from over from everything I'm hearing. I mean, what we're seeing is really the nationalization and the commercialization of college sports. I mean, every single day, it seems like conferences get more national. I mean, it is ridiculous that Rutgers is going to play Washington in field hockey. I mean, it's ridiculous, but they're doing it for one reason, and as well as anyone, for the TV money. That's why they're doing it. And it's not going to stop anytime soon. I think you combine it with private capital, private equity coming into college sports very soon. I mean, you got all these private equity firms that are going to come start investing in these college athletic programs, and it's going to mean they're all trying to drive more and more revenue. And every athletic department has a revenue issue right now, especially with the new $20.5 million. They got to pay their players in revenue sharing. So all these conferences and leagues are going to look at how they can drive more revenue in their TV deals. It's going to mean a more national sport. I think what it's going to look like is you're going to have the national conferences, the Big 10, the SEC. We're going to keep expanding, keep bringing in more teams. I mean, how many teams are trying to leave the ACC right now? Right. We're looking at it all the time, getting out of those contracts. So it's going to keep getting crazier and crazier. I think we'll see the Big Ten and the SEC expand by a couple of schools even as soon as the next couple of years.
The names no longer make sense.
No doubt.
Right?
Makes no sense.
Make it all branded.
I know.
It's not 10. It's not 12.
Yeah.
And you got 2 California schools in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So
makes no sense.
Somebody's going to have to change here. Adam Breneman, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back soon with a lot more interviews from Radio Row.